Let's take the next questions.
Thank you, Chair. Most of my questions are covered. I only have one question. If I may ask, what was the reason behind the municipality's decision to sell Kelvin Power Station at first? And if you were to repurchase it, what will be the monetary value for repurchasing? And how much do you anticipate to save in future? And beside the potential savings, what are the benefits would come from buying it back? Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Greetings to Johannesburg City. I was listening attentively when you're explaining this issue of UIF, because it emanates from the report of the AG. So you are also telling us that you are on zooming in on it. But please qualify it, because the AG, the latest report says that you don't have an appetite to investigate the UIF. What informs the AG for that? Because it talks about a number of things. One, can you also take us into confidence in terms of the MPEC, if they are functioning? There is one. Secondly, also alluded to the fact that we have an anti-corruption unit. Kindly share with us with how many cases are you dealing with in terms of corruption that is taking place in the municipality? Because some of the issues are also identified by the media. Being the latest one was the issue of water tankers. That I think there's an investigation about it. It's an allegation on corruption, about 263 million. And maybe you were here, you were here when we were engaging with the Premier and MMCs. We raised the issue of the billing system is one of the major issues in the city of Johannesburg. Please come clean. And maybe you were here, you were here when we were engaging with the Premier and MMCs. We raised the issue of the billing system is one of the major issues in the city of Johannesburg. Please come clean. Issues that are raised by the AG is the lack of leadership in terms of the administration. So if you don't have an MM for such a long time, so it means we are not going to have some of the things resolved. Lastly, under UIF, you have grown. Lastly, you were 2023-2024 status. You were sitting at 1.48 million on fruitless wasteful expenditure. And now we have grown to 254 million on the same issue. So why is that, while you are telling us that you are attending to the issue of UIFs? Lastly, Chair, why other MMCs are not here? How did you constitute your team? We have MMCs who are very active, like the MMCs of public safety. So we love to see all MMCs to come and account here, and also not every time to criticize you as a city, but also to say, we notice your work, MMC, Dr. Mkhize and all other MMC, in order for other MMCs to see that it's very important to have an activist as part of leadership. Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to the team from the City of Johannesburg. Chair, it's very unfortunate that the mayor is not here, because he and this leadership needs to be told that Johannesburg is a disaster. Outside of the big numbers and the fancy English that we're speaking here, Johannesburg is a disaster. And the team that's leading Johannesburg now needs to be told that. The province needs to be told that as well. Chair, Johannesburg is the richest city in the continent, actually. But the CBD doesn't speak to that. The CBD is just something else. Hotels and all of the big businesses around that were around Johannesburg, they are no longer there. They've all left, because it's actually even dangerous to be in the city. You've got little to no maintenance of roads. You've got little to no maintenance of underground sewerage systems. The garbage is piling up at every corner in the city. The criminality is rampant. You can't even speak to a cell phone while walking around town. The red traffic lights there in town, they're literally merely a suggestion to stop. And forget about driving around town at night. That's another thing altogether. The potholes, broken street lights, electricity shortages, water problems. And now people who are not South Africans are literally running Johannesburg City. So the first question that I'll have on that note is, after Sunday, one of the Sunday newspapers wrote not too long ago that the city is collapsing because its leadership is incompetent and corrupt. The question to this leadership is, what do they have to say about that, given the state of the city of Johannesburg? Chair, I think this was alluded to a bit earlier on regarding the 70 million rands that were spent on financial consultants for the city. So the next question there is, was that really necessary? Are there not enough competent people in Johannesburg that the city could employ to replace these consultants at 70 million rands a year? And then lastly, Chair, the spending on repairing and maintenance of infrastructure. I think when the gentleman spoke there, I'm not sure what position he holds in the city, yes. I think he spoke of an amount that was equivalent to, I think, less than 1%. Is that correct? Okay, please enlighten us on what the percentage there was, because I know that you said you will get to 8%, because according to the Auditor General, the amount that was spent in financial year 2023-2024 was equivalent to less than 1% of the total value of the property, plant, and equipment. Now, I wanted to ask, if that's the case, if what the Auditor General said here is correct, what is the problem? Because this,
Thank you, member.
the reason for this is the reason behind all of the infrastructure collapse in the city. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Kabazal. I just want to check with the city in relation to the bylaws. Do you allow, when you issuing the business licenses, I would assume that they are issued by you, especially in the informal economy? Do you allow it according to your bylaws to give it to those that are coming to South Africa without scarce skills? For instance, if I want to open a salon and I'm a foreign national, am I allowed? You give me a business license, that's one. Two, I just want to check how many entities of the city are in deficit. Should there be any? What are the plans that you have of dealing with this? I've noticed that there are some of your entities that are doing pretty well, especially from social media, like Joburg Market, the Joburg Theatre, the JTA. I saw there they built a very beautiful library and BRT stations. What lessons are you taking from these entities that are doing well? In line with the above, I see that you have paid some performance bonuses. I just want to check from which entities are these senior managers that you have paid, and have you paid any in the municipality itself? The MM position, I think it has been vacant for more than for more than 2 years now. I just want to check because I see that it had become a generation and acting position. What are the plans? How many people have acted in that position? Is it true that you intend to sell some of your art collection to some business venture that is led by previously Advantage, which is white people? If so, what is your plans with Joburg Art Gallery? And the reason why would you want to specifically sell it to these white people? When last did you do a whole institution review of the city of Joburg? As I'm almost done, on city power. The city power is operating. It was reported by the end of last year that it's operating on an overdraft that is more than 16 billion. Why are you allowing this? It is also reported that purported that a bulk of your executive are without postgraduate qualification. Is this true at City Power? Lastly, I just want to check why you allowing the way that that is being operated. On revenue, I just want to check the person that is acting there, does he have the background and the qualification that are in line with the acting at the revenue, and why don't you have a permanent person there?
Thank you.
And lastly, the 93%.
That's your third last, eh? Let's
The
close,
93% you are speaking about is of this financial year or last financial year? Because if you look at the last financial year, it can't be that there's an increase in debt in payments and your interest income that is linked to your less collection. But you are saying you collected 93%. Can you just allude on that?
Thank you. Thank you. Let's deal with those questions.
Thank you very much, Chair. The position of the city manager in Johannesburg has been vacant since December, and it was through a court judgment against the appointment of the city manager. It's not 2 years. But where we are now, the processes have been completed. The interviews were conducted, and they've undergone a competence assessment. So that's where we are now. I think in the next few months, council will consider the report. The delegation, how it was composed, we looked into the issues raised and the department that are more involved, and that's how we composed our delegation. But I do need to indicate that all the MMCs are very hard at work. MMC Chwako, for example, as you had indicated, he's very hard at work. He's actually assisting in even dealing with the criminal activities in the inner city, and I think you would have seen him, being on the ground, leading operations, making sure that all those that are involved in criminal elements are apprehended. The state of the inner city, we acknowledge the challenges within the inner city, and that's why we have deployed various interventions. And all the departments, they've been assigned responsibilities in trying to deal with the issues within the inner city. So our rejuvenation process required that we deploy more resources, but we also involve other spheres of government, because other issues that are within the inner city, they goes beyond our scope of responsibility and the mandate that we have. As the city of Johannesburg, like issues of illegal immigrants, for example, we do not have a competency as the city of Johannesburg to deal with them. Hence our collaboration with Home Affairs. I know the provincial government as well, because even in the IGR, we do engage quite a lot around the rejuvenation of the inner city, and there are resources that have been deployed by the provincial government in attempts to assist the city of Johannesburg. But the biggest challenge that we have with the inner city is around the evacuation in the bed buildings, because for us to run that program successfully, we need to provide alternative accommodation, and the reality is that we do not have sufficient resources as the municipality to provide alternative accommodation, and that's why we had escalated the matter to the human settlements at the national level to see how they can best assist us in securing resources so that we are able to provide more alternative accommodation for us to evacuate more buildings. There are buildings that we have already evacuated. There are buildings that we had already demolished as part of our processes to rejuvenate. But over and above that, GMPD has also deployed officers so that they are able to deal with criminal elements. But the reality of the matter is that resources are not adequate for us to respond to the expectation of our residents. Well, I will allow colleagues also to respond to some of the issues that have been raised.
Thank you, Chair. The question that stands is how the Speaker's office contribute to clean governance and the fight against irregular expenditure. Chair, this office has put in place this office is currently enforcing adherence to council rules that promote accountability. We have strengthened internal oversight mechanisms by capacitating MPEC members and insisting on consequent management for officials implicated in audit findings. We are also ensuring that audit recommendations are debated in council and tracked for implementation. The office is also currently ensuring that all councillors are familiar with the Code of Conduct as outlined in Schedule 1 of the Municipal Systems Act. Where violations occur, I refer such matters to the Ethics Committee or the Council for Disciplinary Action. I've also planned regular ethics workshops and encourage reporting of misconduct to protect the integrity of council. Chair, we have also ensured that all oversight committees, including MPEC, are properly constituted and meet regularly. MPEC meets almost every week. I monitor the attendance and functionality of these committees, and we have engaged with committee chairpersons to address any lapses. Furthermore, I enforce compliance with reporting deadlines and ensure reports are tabled and debated in council as required by the Systems Act. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. The question on the institutional review. Our last institutional review was in 2012, 2013. There was an approval granted by council in 2017. However, there were challenges with the then administration, and subsequently the matter was investigated, and because there were certain allegations with the then administration at the time, then that process didn't go through. We have subsequently received approval. When analysis has already been done, council has given us, so we've already started that process as the member asked. Then, Chair, we personally don't have information, so we would like to request if the honorable member perhaps can furnish us with the consultants or that he made reference to, or the companies, as the City Core and the CFO also can confirm on record. We will be then happy to investigate and be able to respond, so that if it is something that is in existence, we are able to give the committee a proper response. But we have not utilized any consultants in our institution to compile any statements and to do any work in the finance department.
Just hold on there. Both yours and the speaker's comment. This member, Mtolo, was saying members must not mislead. It arises because there's a gap that I don't think you should omit. What's happening here, and I'm looking through these reports. Firstly, I'm going to read to you just now the Auditor General's comment. Now, the issue of the functioning of the UI, of the MPEC and the investigation of the UIFW is an issue raised by the Auditor General. And when you look at the comment, the comment is saying they came to that conclusion based on looking back at the 3 years. So that becomes the issue. Then they make a comment that they've noted this response which you gave, and they are of the view that maybe next time they audit, they will find the report, the record of the things that we're talking about. So you might then be dealing with issues where things were not done and you report from where you started doing them, and this gap doesn't cover the Auditor General's report. I wanted to look at that because I think that's what's happening. Now, you just seen I've called the member to come closer here so we can talk about this. I'm just trying to get to this report. The Auditor General specifically reports on the Gauteng expenditure on the consultants. And that report, I'm going to ask the member, because mine is taking long to come, to read that paragraph. If you can just pass to the member this so that you can read. Now, we need you to focus on it from that understanding, because where we're sitting, what you're telling us is not in line with what the Auditor General is saying. And you're quite confident as you move on. And what I'm picking up is there's a gap here. You starting here, you're not accounting for what happened before. So even if you are doing well now, as far as you are concerned, it's not been assessed by anybody. But if you're doing well now, you're not accounting for the fact that you have not been doing well before. That's the issue. And from where we sit, it comes out like someone is not telling us the truth. And that's the problem. And that's why the member had to raise that issue. Now, I think it's a number of factors here. Can I ask you to read that paragraph, because there are specific amounts which were obtained from your statements that is referring to. Just read that paragraph for me, please. Switch on the...
Chair, the Auditor General South Africa has been reporting on the use of financial reporting consultants to address the skills and vacancy gaps over multiple years. And the over-reliance persists. In Gauteng, the cost of financial reporting consultants increased from 57.15 million in 2022-2023 financial year to 70.13 million in 2023-2024 financial year, primarily because consultants were brought in to assist with asset management, yet material misstatements identified were still prevalent. Chair.
So, from where we sit, Akshangan.
Okay, Chair, our humble apologies. We will also seek clarity around the statement, because it makes emphasis on Gauteng. And maybe that's where the confusion emanates from. Maybe if they could be specific on the city of Johannesburg so that we are able to address the matchups.
Okay, that's fair. So we're going to check that. Then let me go down to, I'm going to go down to another one. I hope I can get this one quickly. So I can get this one quickly. You will just pardon me as I'm going to now have to scroll to the issue that... Okay. All right. So this is one issue. Reliance on audit process to achieve unqualified audit opinions. Okay. Then they say in 2023-24, the city was amongst those that received unqualified audit opinions every year for the past 3 years, despite having initially submitted poor quality financial statement that they then corrected. Okay. So whatever you do now, they've got this record going back. And then non-investigation of unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. The Auditor General's Report 2023-24, page 21-26, the city has not investigated unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure over the last 3 audited financial years. Now, this issue has been raised by 2-3 members already. Okay. And that's why I stopped the speaker at some point and said, no. Don't explain what we know is expected. That's not the report. The report is saying you have not done it. We know what you should have done. You know what you should have done. So don't tell us what you should have done. You must address the fact that you have not done it. Now, that issue, again, I had to again stop because 2 members already from the municipality had raised that issue. Then the Auditor General Report 2023-24, that while the city had a disciplinary board in place, the board did not perform its legislated role of investigating financial misconduct allegations. Okay. The board also did not monitor the disciplinary hearings at the Metro. That is the Auditor General. So each time you tell us what you are doing, we are not able to reconcile with this unless you can tell us from now on going forward, this is what we are doing, but from now going backwards, we didn't do it. If you're not telling us that, then we actually think you're trying to
Mislead you.
shy. Now, if anything, this committee is very sensitive to that because that's our job every day, to always pick up when things aren't as true as they sound. Of course, non-compliance with Section 131(1) of the MFMA, as per Auditor General Report 2023-24, the mayor did not ensure that the issues raised in the audit report were addressed. So whatever you explain to us now, that's why you hear the members here saying it's very unfortunate that the mayor is not here. The next one, page 128 of the Auditor General's report. The City Council did not monitor the audit action plan or hold officials accountable for the timelines on the action plan. MM is disagreeing with me. You disagreeing, MM? I see you are not even listening. You dismissing us. I don't find it. I don't find it quite proper when we actually explaining to you what the problem is. You're actually talking to each other. I think that it gives us a problem because I raised the issue. I think the acting mayor made a comment, and I said that comment is going to give you a problem, and it begins to give a pattern. So please, let's just focus, because we can't sit here and create an impression that we don't care whatever you say. Now, the problem now, we're getting an impasse because you are saying you are doing all these things and Auditor General says you are not doing all these things. So take us out of that.
Chair, thank you. I just want to
Hold on, just hold on.
Sorry. I just want to add one thing, Chair, on what you have just alluded to. When the speaker respond, because we were listening very careful when they're responding on the issue of UIF, they told us that what they have done so far. They even said they have a unit called anti-corruption unit. We said to them, just tell us all the issues that are being dealt with in the anti-corruption unit, because that's where we must start. MPEC, audit action plan, but we have your own unit that deals with these things that are raised by the AG. But the speaker couldn't also tell us what are the criminal cases or what are the corruption cases emanating from their own unit. After they have learned, they went to town to tell us how good they are to address the issues from the Audit General.
Just as a matter of interest, probably 80% of us here have been civil servants. So we know the game, how you fudge issues. Must sound like even if it is not. And that's all we're very sensitive to. So we're now going to limit what your response that you give us. We want to know why we have this gap. What are you doing? From when have you been doing it? Let's separate it clearly. If you are not sure, let's not go into guesswork. Okay. So I will be interrupting if I think you are not going the route.
Thank you, Chair. The committee is correct on the disciplinary board in terms of the gap. When I spoke earlier, I indicated that council approved it in March 2024. The disciplinary board was established during a term of a previous government. Then there were changes in government. The government that came in 2021 de-established the disciplinary board. They didn't want to accept the guidance of National Treasury. Then when this new government of local unity came back in 2024, we re-established it, council approved it. So where the committee is correct is that there would have been no disciplinary board active in the city of Johannesburg in 2023 and the earlier months of 2022 because of the previous government who did not want to utilize the disciplinary board. So there I can confirm that there would have been that gap. And therefore the things that we are saying are only active and having started in March 2024. So the political changes created that particular problem. There was different governments.
Okay, but your government, ne?
No.
So you deal with these issues in terms of the financial years and the fact that whether you are a different group and different coalition today, you still the same term of government in office since 2021. You're only getting out next year. It doesn't matter if you have changed mayor 6 times. You're still the same. And therefore everybody takes the same responsibility. If we say 3 years ago something went wrong, the same term of office is yours. But what we are saying is that you can't, when there's a criticism of what happened in the past, then start talking to us as though that doesn't exist and you only talk about what's happening now and not bridge the gap, because it mustn't be us who are correcting you. It's you who must clarify us. That is the issue.
Thanks, Chair. The issues we raised, the 18 matters, are actually dating back even before our term of office. So the 18 matters that we are speaking about, the ones that Ku mentioned, For example, the old matters, some date back from 2019, some date back to 2020. So we accept that we are successors in law and in title, but perhaps there's a...
And the problem with that is that UIFW, if it's not cleared, it stays. So you can't say, I don't know the guys who did this, I'm here now. You have to sit down and say, how much of that do you regularize? That's really what catches you, and you can't then argue that, well, those guys are gone, we are now here. That's the point.
Noted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think we are in full in agreement, especially what MMC Masuku has said, and we are not denying what has happened before we came in, but I think we also told you how we will fix what has happened then. For us fortunate sitting here in this room, Chair, we have a previous chairperson of MPAC with us that can also say to you, Chair, that she's also been struggling with that UIFW's. The Honorable Mam Nontenja was our MPAC chair before, and after Mam Nontenja left, we had a gap.
Do you know in Parliament you rule out on irrelevancy?
Thank you, Chair.
I'm ruling you out on
Thank you,
irrelevancy
Chair.
now.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the questions. Please focus on the questions, and I'll keep cutting now. If I don't hear that you are going there, I'll cut you. So let's deal with our outstanding
Thank you,
questions.
Chair. Chair, so as far as the Speaker is concerned on MPAC, we are definitely working to fix what we have not fixed in the last 3 years. And I would want the coup to assist us on the anti-crime committee that is there, as well as your favorite person will also deal with that. I thank you, Chair.
And let's deal with the questions.
Okay. And Chair, we would like to profusely apologize if we communicated a message. We're just trying to confer based on the information given, just to ascertain facts. So we want to profusely apologize. Just clarify on those issues.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think just to go straight to the issues. So in line with the response from MMC Masuku in terms of the establishment of the board, and the work that MPAC has to do in terms of the final write-off that goes to council. You'd recall that that process is a process that has to be approved at council, and some of the committee members are councillors who sit on MPAC. But administratively, the investigation of all of those matters would have been concluded. First one, the group internal audit team will investigate all of those matters, including the ones that we picked up.
You give us a lecture of how the system should work. We're not asking you that.
No, Chair, I'm getting to the actual...
No, let's go straight.
Okay. So, for an example, Chair, let's talk about the consultant, the use of consultants to conduct financial statements in the city. We have not used consultants to conduct investigations in the city. We have the group, which is the group CFO. We have a group head, which is Ishwar Ramdas, responsible for the compiling of financial statements. Each department has a director of finance and a complete team that does the financial. So what had happened with, after the AG issued that media statement, myself, Group CFO, and the AG, we then reached out to, the head of GRAS, we reached out to AG to say, the statement that we are using a consultants to do our financials, it is not correct. Can we have a consultation so we can understand where that comes from? Because obviously it's creating a bit of challenges in terms of how we compile the financials. The point that the AG had raised was around the adjustments that we make, which is the concern that she's raised, that when you do your financial statements, you then also make adjustments before we conclude the audit. And that's where the AG raised and challenged. Second to that, Chair, the performance committee and the audit committee, the chairpersons had actually said, go to the media to correct the statement by the AG, and administratively we said that will not be the correct route to go. The best route is to engage with the AG and the person who's responsible for our AG to say, we've also submitted to you a report with all the skills of our financials. The issue around...
Okay, move to the next issue, because we've raised the issue of consultants because we had something that was a query with you. You insisting and you're denying. That's fine. Let's take that. We'll pick it up when we've got different information. May I just ask someone from the AG to come forward to confer with us? Please proceed. Deal with the other issues.
That's fine, Chair. So I think then the second issue we had raised with the AG was around where the AG had said in the previous audit that the city had not investigated these irregular matters. Now, the 6 cases that I referred to, the MTN case is 2018 case. The Protea Glen Fire Station is a 2019 case. At the time that the AG came to audit in the previous year, those reports were already available because they had also raised them as material irregularity. And we had already shown to the AG that we had investigated these matters and we had already started disciplinary action and the collection. For an example, the 2.5 million on the Protea Glen construction with the AG raised, we had already investigated and taken action. So we had a bit of a to and fro in terms of have you implemented consequence management? And I did respond this morning that we had initiated consequence management on all of those investigation issues. So it was a matter of whether we are agreeing with
it. So in brief, the AG is incorrect in saying for 3 years there had been no investigations.
I can say that, Chair, because the reports are there where we had investigated the cases. Hence, we had said we need to clarify the media statements. The second point I raised with AG says, sorry for coming, Chair.
Okay, and so you are also saying the AG is incorrect in saying that these reports were actually not followed up by council.
That's the point I was getting to, Chair. I think the preamble I was giving was bringing us here.
Don't do preambles. I told you I'm going to cut you. I want it straight to the point.
Chair, for those reports to be considered by council, they have to go to MPEC. They have to go through MPEC. So if MPEC is not sitting, then the reports don't get processed by council. And that's where the gap was.
No. You see, you understand what you're saying now. The Auditor General is not telling us the truth when they say the matter was not processed. What's your explanation? When the impact doesn't sit, then the thing doesn't get processed. Now, who's telling the truth? You are actually confirming the same thing you want to explain and justify. We're not asking you to justify. Continue.
Chair, if I may clarify, I did indicate that administratively, we had processed the reports. For an example, we took action.
No. You are one municipality. If you are supposed to do something, you do, this one does it, that one does it, that one does it, and the others don't. You think you're going to come and tell us that the others didn't do their bit? You can't tell us that. You cannot tell us that.
Chair, but I also want to hear from the municipality because they are disputing the comments that have been made by AG. Have they formally disputed those comments with the AG? And if indeed, how's the process? How far is that process?
Thanks, Chair. I can confirm, Chair, that I led the delegation to engage with the AG on some of the comments that have been raised. Immediately, they were released in the media. Our first issue was the issues that the AG is raising are not in the final management report. And therefore, it is a bit problematic that we engage with them from a media base when they are not in the management report.
Just hold on. Let's hold on. You are saying to us, you have gone to query with the AG. The one issue I've had, you said you were going to query, was the use of consultants. And I said, I take your point, put it aside. Until somebody from AG comes to us, we won't take you on that issue. When they come back, we'll come back to you. Leave that. Then the next issue is the MPEC. Did the MPEC submit the report, and did the council deal with the report and monitor? And you are saying, and this is how I understood you, administratively you did your bit. The MPEC didn't follow up its bit, it's part of the process. So administratively, you want to clear yourself. The committee has got its own problem.
No, Chair, I am not clearing the administration. I'm simply saying the gap in processing those reports were in the sitting of MPE, which
That's
have
clearing
subsequent-
yourself.
which has subsequently said to clear those, Chair.
No. You see, the Auditor General was saying that those things were not cleared. You are saying you did your bit, the MPEC didn't do their bit. If you have submitted, you are not the one at fault. If the MPEC committee didn't process the thing through right up to council because they didn't sit and you said so, then it can't be your problem. And I'm saying to you, you can't separate parts of one unit of a municipality and say to us that if your part did it, the other part didn't do it. We're not asking you, we're asking the municipality. And you're making us argue over something that's completely obvious and there's no need for it. And we didn't come here to argue. We didn't come here for political opinion. We came here just to get facts. So don't try and play around. All these guys here are politicians. So when we start politicking, we actually pick it up quickly, but that's our skill. So don't try that route. Okay? Now, let's close this issue. The Auditor General's report for us stands. Whatever your explanation is, that report stands. And we're not going to argue with you whether you like what the Auditor General said or didn't say. We don't want to know your view about it. We want to know the facts of what happened. And when we look at the facts, we don't care who didn't do it. We just want to know this is what happened. That's all. So don't allow us to get into this kind of debate because it's unhealthy. And we're wasting time for it. Let's answer the rest of the questions.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, there was a question on the cases that are currently under investigation and how many have been criminal cases that have been reported to SAPS. Chair, I can indicate that we ended the year with 555 cases, of which 442 would have been grouped to be either fraud, corruption, or maladministration. 100 of those 110 relate to illegally occupied buildings, stroke hijacked buildings. And in terms of the disciplinary cases, there is 44 that our forensic investigation team is following up on. And the criminal cases, we've got 68. We also monitor recovery, where the recommendations from either the investigation or the disciplinary action would have been that we recover. So there are 12 matters that are currently being monitored. That is the state with regards the investigations that are conducted by our Chief's Department. I must indicate, Chair, that insofar as financial misconduct matters, they are distinct. They are defined in terms of the Act. So those, the 18 that we mentioned, are over and above those that our Chief's Department is looking at. These are those that our disciplinary board is overseeing as mandated in terms of the regulations. Some of these matters that are under investigation by Chiefs could be matters that are financial misconduct, but because I don't intend to resuscitate the issue of the disciplinary board being in place or not, but you do then find that Chiefs would have investigated or will still have matters that are financial misconduct in nature, and we are analyzing our database to then make sure that these matters get routed to the disciplinary board, so that we avoid a technicality where we can investigate, charge an official, and then they can cite that our forensic investigation department may not have had the jurisdiction as defined in terms of the law. There was an issue, Chair, around the non-implementation of audit findings. I will respond to 23-24 and post 23-24, meaning 24-25. In 23-24, we had monitored the implementation of corrective actions. This is citywide, and we would have submitted a consolidated report on the rate of resolution, and not just AG audit findings, but also internal audit findings. We were sitting at the end of the year with 86% rate of resolution. But what have we then done subsequent to year end 23-24? The acting city manager did indicate that when he came in, we'd already had a workshop where we're looking at these findings, revisiting our remedial actions, and there's a directive vis-a-vis any repeat findings that the AG may have for the 24-25, that senior management, respective senior management will then be held accountable. So yes, we did follow up 23-24. We have continued to follow up 24-25, but an improvement is that now we've got that accountability matrix that has been workshopped and agreed to with management. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just the question on the repairs and maintenance. Our target for the previous financial year was 6.9. We concluded the financial year at 6.7, which totals 6 billion of the 89.4 billion, which is our total budget that we spent on repairs and maintenance. The issue around the art gallery that was raised, we are not selling the art gallery, Chair. There is a process to review, to upgrade the art gallery, which is implemented by JDA and community development. However, the snag we have is the movement of the art in that gallery to a safe position. We have received some proposal from some of our partners, and we are reviewing how we do that, because the art is very valuable and it's expensive, and therefore we don't want it to end up in wrong hands and then be accused of selling the art itself. So there is a proposal that our legal team is looking at in line with our partners, and this is of course monitored over a period. In relation to bylaws and whether we issue permits to foreign nationals, that is not allowed. There are 3 departments who are involved. EMS does the inspection of the facility. Development planning also looks at compliance in terms of buildings. And then we have the economic development department that then issues the final permit. Once all of those 3 departments have then, of course, investigated that. So it's not part of our bylaw to actually implement through JMPD. The issue around the Kelvin Power and the sale of Kelvin Power, this happened around 2000 when the city amalgamated all the different municipalities into a single uni-city. And the leadership at the time, because the city was in a financial difficulty to raise funds, took a decision to sell Kelvin, Igoli Gas to the private sector, to be run by the private sector, but still get the services. And that's when that decision was made, around 2000 or so. The benefit to buying back Kelvin, of course, we've not done the study to look at how much it will cost us to buy back. Currently, Eskom charges us about 30% for administrative cost, and not for the actual electron that you buy. But with Kelvin, we actually do not have, we don't incur that 30% cost. So if we were to self-generate using Kelvin, would then be able to reduce the 30% administrative cost that we're receiving from Eskom, but also reduce the price, the tariffs that we buy, because in winter, the tariffs at Eskom go high, but because we're using Kelvin, it is cheaper to actually augment the different tariffs prices that we buy. So there is a benefit to actually self-generating. Of course, the legislation now allows that we can generate our own energy, either using gas, solar, or to generate that energy. Because the biggest cost now at City Power is related to the cost from Eskom. And if we are able to reduce that cost either through generation within the city through Kelvin and then bringing in Igoli gas as well, then it will actually reduce the cost, and it may actually reduce the operational cost at City Power. So there is a benefit. As I say, we've not conducted the study. We've given an intent to the board to consider that, and it will come through mayoral committee for approval whether we purchase Kelvin or not, but to use it as part of the buyback process that we are currently busy with. So I think those were the only questions that were outstanding. Oh, sorry, in terms of my apologies, the inner city. I think there's an issue raised around the inner city, and I think we accept the state of the inner city. We have since developed a bad building strategy that we have taken to council for council to approve. But part of that strategy, but the biggest challenge in the inner city has been affordable housing. Affordable housing for all the people who live in the inner city, hence the hijacking of the building. So the strategy looks at how do we bring in the private sector. Already as the city, we've received 4 requests from new owners who have bought or they've recovered their properties and they want to redevelop affordable housing. So we are looking at how do we write off some of the bills that were generated when the building was hijacked, and will then approve so that they can then redevelop. But the main issue in the inner city is about affordable housing, and the bad building strategy addresses that part. So we have started with that operation with SEPS and Home Affairs to actually reclaim some of those buildings and then give them to the owners. Thanks, Chair.
Which one? Yes, water tanker issue.
Yeah, I think the MD is here.
Thank you, Chair. The issue for water tanker, there was an allegation that we picked up through the media, which indicated that the bidders that were appointed, they colluded, and the issue is currently being investigated. Thank you, Chair.
Just repeat the question.
Thanks, Chair. In the City Power, the operation of more than 16 billion on overdraft, the qualification of your executive, postgraduate qualifications, those were the two, and the issue around the collection, the 93% is from when?
Please respond to those.
The CEO of City Power is here. She will respond.
Good afternoon to the Chair and the members and the leadership in the room. With regards to the issue of the overdraft of City Power, we are currently sitting at about 16 billion rands. And our overdraft, when you analyze where the expenditure went, we've got a gross margin challenge at City Power. So we are buying our electricity very high. So case in point, if you look at this year, we spent about 19 billion on the purchase of electricity, whereas our revenue is only 22 billion rands, which therefore means we are left with not enough money to cover the salaries, to cover the R&M. And another issue as well is that our CAPEX, one of the sources of funding would then say that it's cash. And when there's a cash collection challenge, because also the cash that is collected of electricity also gets shared with the other services in the city, it therefore means that there's a cash shortfall. And when we have that cash shortfall, it simply means that we are financing our infrastructure from overdraft. So the overdraft is currently escalating, and in that overdraft, 1.3 billion rands of it is purely interest back to the city, because it's also charged at about 18%. So there is conversations that have started between legal and finance so that we can look at how that is structured. because 1.3 billion rands of it simply goes into interest. So there is work with guidance of legal to see how we can restructure that deal, which is taking us back into the financial crisis at this point. And in terms of the efforts on the gross margin, there is work that is happening with regards to the tariffs. We have considered that the current tariff structure that we've got at City Power is not assisting us. We've got the postpaid customers migrating to prepaid, and when that happens, even if it's not energy losses, it's a revenue loss. It affects our gross margin, and then we end up on overdraft. So those will be the challenges around the overdraft. And the second,
Why is that the case? If you move from prepaid to postpaid, you have a revenue loss, or you're overcharging anyway.
so unfortunately, we started with postpaid customers. So a postpaid customer would pay us 930 rands for its fixed charges. So it has to do with the availability so that they cover our repair and maintenance. And it's also the service charge that deals with the billing before we get to the cost of the electrons. However, when we did the migration to prepaid, so I'm talking about decisions of 12 years ago. So when we started allowing our residential customers to migrate to prepaid, the tariff structure that we factored into 12 years ago did not cover the availability, which means I've got two houses in Bryanston. The household that is on prepaid literally pays 930 rands less to the neighbor that is on postpaid. So we started the process of going to NERSA to change all of that. Because if you look at our books, you'll notice that the overdraft crisis came about from 2016. So from 2016, we've been piling up over R1 billion per annum simply because of the tariff challenges. So we have indicated, we had to do our cost of supply studies, which we did, and we lodged with NERSA, and we have gone to council.
You know what you need more? It's a legal opinion.
Agreed.
It's a huge disaster, I can hear.
Yes.
It's huge. So huge. I'm actually shocked you're putting it the way you are doing. Please, once you get that legal opinion, give it to us. We want to hear what it is.
Agreed, Chair.
But the number is correct, the overdraft figure.
Correct. We actually moved from 11 billion to 13 billion to 16 billion. And we are also predicting that unless we also change the issue of the interest, it's basically going to grow at an average of about 4 billion rands per annum until the legal issues are resolved.
Let's get the next questions. Thank you. Okay. Let's get the other question. There's an issue of qualifications.
Correct.
And please, just go straight. I'll give you 5 seconds for that.
On the issue of the qualifications, the executives of City Power are appointed according to the qualifications as per the Municipal Systems Act, the competency framework, and they all meet it. So if the competence, they meet the requirements of the competency framework, we use the Municipal Systems Act competency framework. So we look at what are the qualifications that are required, and the minimum competency is in line with that. So the spec then gets approved by the board, and then the recruitment process then commences.
Let's leave it. You know what? Please come over this side. Let's talk about it just now. Yeah, let's get the next question.